How often are you following up? So if you're reaching out to that sell or owner and you have a conversation like that, and perhaps it doesn't go anywhere. Perhaps it's just like, no, not interested in buying. I'm happy with my portfolio. How do you database them to reach out to them at some point? And when is that point?
Yeah, so we try to, I mean, like, it's funny because we're always trying to improve our systems there. I don't think we have it perfect, but the way we have set up today is that we either have hot leads, which is like they're immediate, looking to sell, need to sell immediately. And then the other two options that we put a lead into is only two buckets. We put them into 90-day campaigns or 12-month campaigns. The 12-month goes for, I think we have it something between 7 and 10 years, by the way, which is just automatic text messages, emails, and ringless voicemails for literally the next 7 to 10 years. Okay. So it's like long-term follow-up, or 90-day is sort of like, hey, not now, but sometime in the next year or so, right? Something in the near-ish future, we will look to do something. So we have about a 2-year campaign that the 90-day campaign goes on. When it comes to actually giving them a call, my philosophy is the following. Obviously, automate where you can. However, business gets done over the phone. You're not going to do business via email. You're not going to do business via text. Right? I don't care with AI coming into place. It just makes the automation part easier. Business is done over the phone. If you want to close a deal, you have to do business over the phone. So we always start with making a phone call first. If somebody's on, let's just say, I'm not going to talk about a hot lead because obviously if someone's looking to sell tomorrow, you should be calling them every single day until they literally, until the next phase is, until that next step is completed, right? But I'm talking about like a 90-day or a 12-month campaign individual. They say like, look, I'm not interested in selling right now, but keep in touch. Those types of individuals. Like maybe I'll look to do something later this year. Whatever they say, here's a quick rule of thumb. Follow up with them in half the time that they told you. Hey, call me back in a month, call them back in 2 weeks. Hey, call me back in 6 weeks or 6 months, call them back in 3 months, right? Or call me back in a year, call them back in 6 months. And then when you call them back and say, hey, I know last time we spoke, you wanted me to call you back in X. I just wanted to touch base with you in the meantime to see how you and the family are doing. Hope all is well. I know you also tell me you were going on vacation. How was the vacation? Like, keep it light and simple. You don't have to say like, you don't have to go right for the jugular the second you open the conversation. But then I just like to flip it into, and at that time, you said that you were still, you were possibly open to selling the property later this year. I just wanted to make sure that was still the part of the game plan. So we just reconfirm their timeframes, right? Because what ends up happening a lot of time, I mean, this has happened to me so many times. I'm sure it's happened to you, where they go like, hey, I'm not looking to sell now, but maybe in a year. And then you call them back in a year and they already sold it. You're like, what the heck just happened here? And you're like, why didn't I get this transaction? It's because they don't know to a date, right? Like they just like, it's not right now, right? It could be in 3 weeks. It's just not right now. I mean, I've had that too. Where like, I'm not really looking to sell. Call me back, in a little bit, right? And then all of a sudden 3 weeks later, they sell the property. Number one is just cut the time frame in half. When you do call them up, try to do a little bit of personal connection before you just do the reconfirmation of their time frame. And then the big thing also when it comes to follow up is the automation / modes of communication. Use automation where you can. We use Follow Up Us and REI Reply for all of our systems, which is automatic text messages, emails, and voicemails. We add them to newsletters, which comes out every single week. We also, I think it's important for people to realize, like for very big clients, like we see that they own a lot of stuff, we try to get to the big guy, like the guy who's the decision maker. Connect with them on LinkedIn. It's a really easy way. Like we post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. So it's an easy way to keep in touch with them because I post so often. Follow them on social media. Get to know who they are, right? Connect with them. Like, like if they don't, like respond to them on their mode of communication in which they speak to you on. Because maybe they don't answer your phone or like, man, this guy's ghosting me. But he answers every single text message. Oh, well, then you should probably text them to try to figure out a time to speak. Well, they don't answer my text messages or calls. They only answer email. Awesome. Email them and figure out a good time to speak. Oh, well, they don't answer email, text, or whatever. Awesome. Guess what you should probably do? Go visit the person. Go visit their office, right? Especially if they're super local. There's so many different modes of communication these days where like just because they're ghosting you on the phone doesn't mean there isn't a way to get in touch with them. So hope that answers the follow-up question.
Well, it really does. And I can speak anecdotally about it myself where I just get inundated with stuff all day. I have phone calls, emails, social media things. Like I've got, when I wake up in the morning, I have to start running and then I run until I'm done for the day. And sometimes that means I don't check my phone for a couple of hours. It's just I'm looking at properties or I'm dealing with an issue. And then when you do check your phone, you've got 10 calls and you're trying to figure out how you navigate your way through all of this. And then you've got 10 emails and you might be like, okay, well, I'll get through the emails here first. And then by the time you get to the calls, you might not even have a chance to do it. And I've learned that busy people, that's how they work. I don't think it's ghosting anybody intentionally. And if they are, then that's just something you have to just deal with because there's always more prospects. But if someone is ghosting you, it's because they're legitimately busy. It's funny how people that aren't busy always wonder how someone can't return their call right away. I've had calls like this. I tried reaching you 20 minutes ago. Well, I'm not sitting around waiting for my phone to ring. We're busy. So I think that is the exact right approach, is that some people will just resonate and respond better with certain mediums. Younger generation doesn't like voicemails. They'd rather have just a text message. I'm a big email guy. I always reply to my emails, but I don't always get to my calls, especially if they don't leave a message. That's the other one, is that some people might just expect you to call them back because they see your number on the phone display, but everybody is a little bit different. So I love the follow up on that, and then being creative in terms of how you reach out to them. How that you mentioned the automation, and also that you still got to actually call, because business is done on the phone. Couldn't agree more. What are you using automation for? And you did mention the name of the company that you're using for it. Is that basically just for touch points, that when you have a text go out, an email, is that just a touch point and then you're following up after? Or how do you integrate those?
The way we have it set up, again, we use Follow Up Boss and REI Reply for the automatic text messages, emails, and ringless voicemails.
Was it Follow Up Boss? Sorry?
Yeah, Follow Up Boss, which is actually, it's a residential CRM system, but we just found that they work the same, so it's really simplistic. So that's why we use it. That all being said, the systems that we've created essentially are for the individuals where you're probably not going to call them back in 2 weeks, right? Like, these are people that they're not going to be on your regular follow-up routine per se, right? Because we want to spend all of our time following up with the hottest leads possible so that we can convert those individuals. And when it comes to sales in general, I hope people realize less than 2% of all sales in general, not just real estate, in all sales, every industry across the planet, less than 2% of sales is done on the very first phone call. 80+% of all sales in general are done between the 5th and the 12th contact with an individual. So if that's being said, if that is the data, which it has been for, call it, 100 years at this point, if that is the data, all of the money is basically somewhere between the 5th and the 12th contact. It's a guy, we race to try to touch this individual, on a communication basis, touch this individual between 20 and 30 times. How fast can we get to the 20 or 30 touches, right? Because we know it's speed to lead, right? And these automations that basically allow us to hit those touch points as fast as possible, which a lot of the time it's like, hey, here's some market information, data. Here's, local news, which we do through newsletter purposes, links to those specific articles via text messages and emails that are automated. Hey, it's Henry again. Just wanted to follow up and see how you and the family are doing. Just wanted to confirm and selling the property sometime this year. We're still part of the game plan. We can automate that kind of stuff, guys. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and literally text every single one of your leads. I mean, we have tens of thousands of leads in our database, and it's really hard to do that for every single lead. And the more automation you can create, especially with these AI tools and everything that's coming out, it just creates simplicity, right? So and the cool part is that we actually set up where we have a VA who now answers all of the responses and tries to book phone calls for my salespeople. So my salespeople aren't even handling any of the responses whatsoever on their own leads. I have a VA who's literally just responding to every single one of them. We've been working with her for quite some time. She's done a fantastic job. And she basically just responds as an agent and basically just tries to book a phone call. So when they respond hey, Henry, yeah, everything's fantastic. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah, we are still interested in selling the property. We're probably going to end up doing it probably a little bit sooner though. And she knows that. She's like, oh, this is a great opportunity. Okay, that's great news. Happy to hear the family's doing well. Just curious, do you happen to have time for a phone call maybe later this week, early next week? Would a Monday or Tuesday phone call be better for you? She books the call, puts it right in the team, the agent calendar, and they could just keep making their cold calls and keep doing their thing instead of having to worry about all the responses. It's layers upon layers upon layers of this follow-up game. And the more automations you can create and the more things you can delegate, the easier your life will be, especially as your lead flow grows.
You've talked about the success that you've had and your team's had in cold calling. And I think the passion rings through. I think people can appreciate just that, how you've perfected this skill. And even in light of that, there'll be people that think that listener watch this and they'll say, yeah, we should probably be doing it, but for whatever reason, I don't want to cold call. I'd rather open up a kiosk in a mall, whatever it is. Maybe this is a question that's almost impossible to answer because maybe you can't. Maybe you just can't. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can get an agent license, but you can't make them cold call? Is it one of those things, or what would a message be to someone that knows that they should be cold calling, know they could take their business to the next level, but they still just won't?
It's so interesting, man. Like, look, I've been trying to figure this out for so long, right? Like, I don't want to try, like, I'm not trying to act like I know everything in this aspect here. I think that what's important to figure out is the following. Number one is your why. Because if you don't have a strong enough reason why to go out and try to make some money or be successful in general, you probably won't do it. Right? Like, it's like if your back is against the wall, if you need to put food on the table, if you need to pay X bills or whatever it is, right? Like, you're probably going to be in the boat of do whatever it takes versus, I don't know if I feel like it. Guys, I don't know if I feel like making cold calls ever, to be honest with you. But I still do it, even to this day. Right? I mean, my cold calls today. So it's just like, and I'm going to be honest, it's not like I do it every single day. Some days I'm just not feeling it, and I get really, really preoccupied with other things that I'm working on, right? And like, it is part of my non-negotiables every day, and I still don't get to it every day. I'm not perfect by any means, and I will still try to over-index on the other days where I do have availability. And I even make it simpler, where like I even go live every single Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, where I do live cold calls on YouTube and across multiple platforms. We're like, hey, guess what? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I made it fun and good for content. So it's like I made it like, it works out better where like I even have time where we do office hours with my team. We're like, listen, I live in Miami and my teams are nationally. I don't have to be next to them, but we make calls together. I can see them making their calls. I'm making my calls. We're all kind of jiving, having fun, right? We can all, talk on Google Meet or Zoom when we're doing the calls, right? So make it fun, guys. Like, at the beginning of my career, I was completely against making cold calls. Even to this day, I don't like to say that I love making cold calls. I think that it's just one of those formalities where, hey, if I want to be incredibly successful, this is one of the pathways that we've chosen to go 100% all in, and I'm going to become the best in the world for it. And I'm not here to deviate. I'm not going to deviate. I think what's worked in the past is going to continue to work, and we'll just figure out better ways to adjust with the times of the new day and age, and continue to grow the team as it is. And if you're struggling to even make your first phone call, think about it like this: you have to lead generate. Case in point. Right? You have to generate leads of some aspect. I'm not telling you to cold call. What I am saying is that there's only so many ways to do it. You can either make cold call, right? Cold reach out, which this is all about Alex Hormozi's book, which I have I should look for his book. I mean, I have like 3 copies of his book. There's 2 of them right here, where he talks about there's 4 ways to do it. Cold one-to-one, which is making cold calls, cold emails, cold text messages. You could do that. Cold one-to-many, which is doing mass email or cold marketing, really just paying for advertising, which is like literally mailers, Google ads, Facebook ads, you name it. Okay. Cold one-to-many. Warm one-to-one. You call up your sphere of influence. You pick up your cell phone, right? And you call the people in your phone book, right? Everyone who knows you. And then warm one-to-many, which is posting on social media to your warm audience. That's all you got, people, right? You can, and then he has like these 4 ancillary things, which is affiliates, which you can, call that, wrap that into referral partners, like your lenders or attorneys or people who can refer you some business. I would still just call them your sphere of influence, essentially, or building your sphere. It's like, guys, like, okay. And if you don't want to do any of that, you got to hire people to do it. So it either costs time or costs money. Which one would you prefer? Because you can't do none of them.
It's so well said. You are very wise beyond your years. I love that exactly how you described it. And add on to it as well that I've always looked at this business as the equivalent of playing a sport, right? And you're in Miami. I don't know if you're a Dolphins fan or not, but football is an example. It's hard to win a game without the full team on full lineup on the field. Like, you need all your players. And all the players are going to be a little bit different and have different skill sets, but you need all the players. Prospecting is the quarterback. You're not going to win a game without your quarterback playing at an elite level. And you're right. There's only so many ways to do that. And to be a successful broker, a successful investor, you need other players. You need operations, you need systems. All the other players have a functional role, but that quarterback is what drives everything. So if you're not prospecting, and I couldn't agree with you more on this, cold calling is the easiest, quickest way to reach somebody that could be a potential client, that somebody you could call today. You get off, you stop listening to this, you call somebody, you might find someone that has a building to sell right now. And there's no other marketing medium that I know of on that. So love it. I'm a big fan of yours, man. Tell me about your YouTube channel. That's how you and I first connected. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it started as a passion project, man. I mean, like similar to you. I mean, you've done such a fantastic job on YouTube, and I really enjoy all your content as well. It's really just because it was a passion project to start. It's still a passion project, and for us, it's really just I want to make education around sales, commercial real estate in general, easy and free to the public, right? Like where I feel like everything so far has been so corporate in commercial real estate, right? It's a very corporate business structure, considering like the top 10 firms around the country where a large percentage of brokers are at. And I feel like it's just like we've been taught the same thing for so long, and I'm here to just come out and say it real as loud as I can, that like you don't have to just keep going for listings, right? Like it's like, so like that's our philosophy, which is like, hey, we come out with the multi-lens approach, make some offers on properties. Don't just be a freaking listing broker. Find a way to get some equity. Find a way to buy some properties. Like, like I've been saying this a lot recently, which is we sell to buy real estate, not sell until you die. It just makes, because if you don't buy real estate along the way, you will literally have to sell real estate until the day you die, because your active income will stop if you stop selling real estate. So it's educating the world for free in every aspect of possible. And obviously, we know we have the coaching program for those people who want infinitely more accountability, which has been doing incredibly well. And we're happy to support people, but it's really just a passion project, man. That's what it really starts at, and that's what it still is today.